flesh, blood, and bone reveals itself with ghastly moan. Senses run high in blood. Creatures from days of old, whispers heard, mouth unseen. Try your best to suppress your screams. Shadows lurk and the bells. The time has come to pierce the veil. The clock rings out. It's here at last. Welcome to the Southern Spectre Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Southern Spectre Podcast. I am your host, Isaiah, and as always, thanks for joining me. Here we are. We are live. We are broadcasting it out. So, what's going to end up happening is that tonight we're actually going to be doing the Fear Street movie review, which I know that I have put off for quite some time, but now is the time to we're gonna make this happen. So you may like what I gotta say, you may not. But anyway, thank you if you're tuning into this, taking a listen to it. I really do appreciate it. So we are live on YouTube. For those who are listening on the podcast, we are live on YouTube right now, and this is probably going to be something that we'll continue to do. So let's dive on into some things. First, as always, be sure to follow the Southern Spectre Podcast on social media. You can find me on facebook.com/the Southern Spectre Podcast. On Instagram, instagram.com/the Southern Spectre, or make it a little bit easier for the Instagram at the Southern Spectre. And also now, once again, already mentioned this before, but I'm also on TikTok as well at the Southern Spectre. So not hard to remember at all. Also, going to do this as well. Yeah. Oh. It seems to be having some technical difficulty. At gmail.com. I really love to hear your paranormal experiences from the show. From on here. As long as you talk about them, we'll discuss them. So, yeah. I get you an email. You can also hit me on social media. I'd be more than happy to discuss that. Discuss this further with you. Also, now it's time I'd like to give a few shout outs. Yeah, here we go. Seem to be having a Wi-Fi issue. And it seems to be around here. All right, looks like I'm back. There we go. If for whatever reason it is attempting to try to play my little thing here. All right, but anyway. Also, now it's time I got to give out some shout outs. First off, Tales from the Creep podcast. Thank you, Jenny and Liz. Shout out to these two ghoulishly awesome women. I was they invited me on their podcast here just last week. We were able to sit down and tell some spooky stories, and I really enjoyed doing that with those two. They have a really great podcast, a really great sound. Go check them out. Also, earlier this week, I was on YouTube on a live YouTube stream with Horror with Sir Sturdy. Thank you all for allowing me to come on the show. It was a pleasure. I had a blast with you guys. We discussed The Omen. It was The Omen and the remake of The Omen. Not a big fan of it, but we watched it nonetheless. I had a great time discussing the movie, the highlights and the low points of that with the guys. So yeah, definitely cool. So once again, thank you all for allowing me to come on your show. And finally, I'd like to give a shout out to Cynthia Sear with True Hauntings and Scary Stories podcast. Thank you to Cynthia for allowing me to come on your show. It was a pleasure and a blast. Cynthia, one thing interesting about her, she's actually written a few books. And so you can actually find those on Amazon. They're kind of like a collection of scary stories and legends and stuff like that she's put together. And very cool book. Go check it out. And be sure to follow her and be on the lookout for my podcast, my episode that I actually recorded with her. We had a great time together doing that. So, you gotta love technology, folks, right? All right. So anyway, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get on into it. To begin with, like I said, we're doing the Fear Street movie review, and right off the rip, I was not impressed with this movie. Not by a long shot. I really wasn't. I've heard a lot of people say that they really enjoyed the movie. They really enjoyed the storytelling aspect of it and all it had to offer. That's great, good, grand, wonderful. That it just wasn't my cup of tea for whatever rhyme or reason. It just was not my cup of tea. So there was 3 films, and we had Fear Street 1994, Fear Street 1978, and then we had Fear Street 1666. Major spoilers ahead if you have not seen this film or this trilogy. So just putting that out there, err on the side of caution here. But spoilers ahead. This movie basically follows a group of teenagers that's, it started in 1994, and the tale is kind of being told backwards. You're making a new discovery about some things and that are happening in this town of Shadyside. Now, here's the weird part about this. In my opinion, I wanted to do a movie review of each one individually, but after thinking about it, I actually realized that was not possible, because after watching the first one, which is probably my favorite out of all 3 of these, I would have to say that given what I know of how the movie ends, it became more and more predictable. I'll put it that way. Maybe if this had been told from, the opposite way, from 1666 on up to 1994, I think it may have flowed and worked a little bit better. But for whatever reason or another, they decided not to go that route with this movie and this trilogy. But what are you going to do? The bottom line of it is, for me, is that some of these characters were not very likable, especially your lead characters. Not all of them, just 1 or 2 of them. They were not very likable. That's me. I didn't care too much for them. Mainly because now I was actually discussing this with somebody else, and it made a lot of sense. The main character here, I can't even remember her name. That's how unimportant she is to me. But my point being is that somebody mentioned that, she had a resting bitch face when you met her, because she was upset and she was pissed off, and she seemed to remain that way throughout a majority of the franchise. But yeah, and once you've put that taste in my mouth, I'm not going to get it out for quite some time. And yeah, she kind of acted that way throughout the entire series. I just thought it could have been a lot more than what it was, because I was actually looking forward to this. I wanted it to be good. I don't know if maybe I overhyped my own self for it. Who knows? But the way it came out is the fact that they they just did things a little bit differently than what I would have. So you got this group of kids who are all living in this town of Shadyside. And, there's a supposed curse on the town, a witch's curse. And, yeah, a bunch of people start getting killed and things start happening. And I do, however, like the fact that they did blend, true horror, serial killer type aspect to it, along with the paranormal aspect of it. I thought it was quite original. But on the same hand, the director who done this, they said that they were talking about opening up like doing an MCU style horror franchise that had never been done before. Completely disagree. Movies and these horror franchises have been around for years. You have you have Michael Myers, you have Freddy, you have Jason. There's probably some other ones out there as well too. But the bottom line of it is that you have all these classic characters. They had a number of sequels to them, and it just seemed like when you thought that this villain or this killer was dead, they always came back, later on. And the thing about it is that this person here, this director, is talking about creating a universe or a connecting films. It's already been done. Don't think you're cutting edge, and don't think you're gonna do something that hasn't been done before, because at this point you're riding coattails, in my opinion. But also too, the latest and greatest that I think has been very hard to beat. With that being said, if you wanted to create a MCU style horror universe, I think that has already been done, like I said before. But on the same hand, the latest and greatest version of that would undoubtedly be the Conjuring universe. Like I said, don't think you're on the verge of doing something. Oh, I'm, it's all brand new, because it's all been done before. Isn't that what the bare naked lady said? Yeah, it's all been done before. With that being said, like I said, some of these characters were very expendable. And then what really pissed me off is that the ones that I actually enjoyed being on screen, they wanted to kill them off. And that really pissed me off. But, what are you going to do? You can't have your cake and eat it too. But yeah, these, I just didn't like the way this movie flowed. I mean, it did not make a whole lot of sense to me. Um, in all honesty, this movie could have been wrapped up in the first movie, in the very first movie. The other two movies didn't even need to exist. All this story could have been told in the very first movie. I felt like the second one was undoubtedly nothing more than filler, and 3 was just trying to fill in gaps where those people that just, you needed to write it out for them, because it was kind of like an origin story of the whole thing and how the witch's curse came to be. That, I understand that to a degree, but it's not like this story could not have been told in one movie. Most horror movies, or most movies anymore, run for at least a 2 hour, time frame, if not more. If you had did a 2 hour and 15-minute movie, you would have been done and done with this movie. The story would have been told, and you would have been done. I mean, no questions asked. But like I said, they did get the soundtrack right. I really did enjoy the soundtrack. 1994, the first one in this series, was most definitely by far my favorite. The second one, like I said, it was filler. I did, however, like the setting of the second one with the summer camp. I got very much like sleepaway camp vibes from that one. And then what I did not understand in the third one, or at the end of the third one, I should say, is that when you got your final boss battle there with the main bad guy, who happened to turn out to be the sheriff, by the way. Which it was kind of hard to see that coming, but on the same hand, it was not It wasn't like a big reveal. They have, I don't know. I just thought they did a really shitty job all the way around. There you go. I said it. I can't. I don't know why. I hate that it happened that way. But like I said, what are you gonna do? It is what it is, and I hate it. But like I said, this movie could have been a lot more than what it actually turned out to be. But yeah, it sucks because they had a lot to work with. They could have, instead of trying to cash grab in on this thing and make 3 whole movies out of it, you could have really concentrated on 2.5 hour film and really, really sold it. Really sold it. Like I said, some of the characters I didn't care for. One thing that really pissed me off was the fact that, okay, I'm trying to think which one it was. I think it was at the end of the second one. It was either the end of the second one or end of the first one. I think it was the end of the second one. At the end of the second one, they actually had to go and locate the witch's hand, and they found the witch's hand at this tree that had been built inside, or the mall had been built up around it. And they tried to convince the audience that this same dirt from so many years back was the same dirt that was being used. I mean, like nothing had changed, in a diameter 20 feet around this tree. I just thought it was a far stretch. It was a far cry, and it didn't make a lick of damn sense. But it is what it is. They've made stupid decisions. They've made stupid movies before. It's nothing new. Hollywood is bad about this. They want to cash grab in on that kind of stuff, and I just disagree with it. Another thing is like I said, at the end of the third film, you see that the witch's lair is actually still underneath the mall. How in the world was the mall going to be built on top of the witch's lair and it wasn't it takes 30 years for bone to disintegrate exposed to air. There you go. Thank you, bye for the Hobbit. I think that's how you say your name. I apologize if I mispronounced it, but yeah, I'm talking about the Fear Street movies, and I was just simply saying that the way where they put the witch's bones and all this other stuff, it just didn't make much sense. It was hard for me to believe that the witch's hand that they had found at the end of the second one was actually still in the exact same location where it had been hidden prior, and it does not make sense to me at all. But then again, like I said, when they built the mall, it just doesn't seem how in the heck did the witch's lair survive with that, because that makes no sense to me whatsoever. It is what it is. Like I said, some of the movies or some of the characters were very good, and unfortunately, 2 of the characters that I really were in, where I really enjoyed when they were on screen, they both died at the beginning of at the end of the first one, and that made no sense to me whatsoever. I don't get it, because they were the ones. They were the good ones. The one character that I absolutely dug throughout the whole trilogy was the little brother. Now, luckily, the 2 that died at the end of the first one actually came back again in the third one, because in the third one, like I said, there was no need for it. I mean, this movie really aggravated me, y'all. It really did. And then on top of that, not saying there weren't Irish settlers by any stretch of the imagination, but the witch's name is Sarah Fear. Burning at the witch trials and all that other good stuff or whatever. That's when they killed her and so on and so forth. But my point being is, everybody in the third one was talking with an Irish accent. Nowhere in there whatsoever did it even hint that she was Fear. Lord, that she was Irish. I don't understand that. Not by a long shot. It does not make sense. Sorry, y'all. I need a smoke break. It just, it is what it is. And unfortunately, but I will tell you, like I said, the killings and all that good stuff, that stuff was good. That I enjoyed that. That was one thing that kept me interested in it. But by the end of the second one, I had already fallen asleep. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. The second one, just like I said, it was all filler. The third one was basically an origin story and a wrap up, at the end of it, of how things concluded from the beginning of the first one. And that's all. I get that. But like I said, if they had put a little bit more effort into the first one, the other two were never needed, period. Um, the main characters we were supposed to, care about, didn't give a shit about either one of them. I really, honest to goodness, didn't. There were some things there at the end that did not make sense. One of the curse says that the girl, and she'll follow you until you're dead. Talking about the witch. Well, the girl she was following, they actually tried to kill her in the movie and tried to bring her back, thinking that if she dies and bring her back, that this will work. The curse will be over with. I understand the logic behind it. You're trying to beat the system. I get that. What I don't understand, I'm trying to think of how they did it. Oh, I know what it was. Number one, she they attempt to give her a drug overdose, and then they were going to bring her back. So they drugged the hell out of her to begin with. Then on top of that wasn't working. It was just making her drowsy. So then they stick her. She takes her, and they're in a grocery store, by the way. And her girlfriend actually takes her and ducks her head under the water for like, until she's dead. And this girl can hold her breath apparently forever, because it seems like forever that she's got her head held under the water. And so the next thing you know, when she brings her back, the whole idea was given that if the drugs had actually worked, they were supposed to inject her repeatedly with EpiPens because of the adrenaline. And it was supposed to, kind of help her come back awake. Well, when she pulls her out of the lobster tank, she's immediately doing that. She's applying all these EpiPens. And my immediate reaction was, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. The girl's got water in her lungs at this point. That's not happening. You know, I just think she needed better friends. That's all it is. And then on top of that, some of these kids were doing some badass shit that I know my generation, or, not saying that we're all great, but some people got away with this shit, I guess. I wasn't one of them because I didn't do this stuff. So, but anyway, like I said, the first one had a really great soundtrack. The second one had a really great soundtrack. But yeah, it was what it was, and that's all cool and everything. But I just have to laugh at these movies because, like I said, I just really did not have a good time with them. They were supposed to be a good time. The first one were very Scream-like vibes. Even the very first kill in the movie was very reminiscent of the movie Scream, or better yet, from the very first Scream, Drew Barrymore's kill when she died in the first one. This one was very, very reminiscent of that murder scene, where Ghostface is chasing her out just outside of her house, and then comes, brings the knife around and stabs her in the heart. Yeah, it was a lot like that. Matter of fact, even it was, what's her name? Maya Hawke. Yeah, Maya Hawke, Ethan Hawke's daughter, who played, was it Robin in Stranger Things, the last season that they just put out. But anyway, she was in this movie, and they made it like, oh, they put her face on the poster, they put her name out there and say, oh, she's in it too. She was not one of the main characters. She lasted just as long as Drew Barrymore did at the beginning of the first Scream movie. I just felt like it was a marketing ploy. And then, like I said, there was a bunch of different callbacks. They say different things throughout the movies that are very reminiscent of the 90s. You get the reference to mall rats, um, all this stuff. So, I mean, all that was cool and everything and very nostalgic. But on the same hand, it doesn't make the movie any better. That's in my opinion, anyhow. But anyway, I will recommend, because I actually watched this movie last night. And if you watch my last video, that this movie was actually fairly good. I enjoyed it. And, who knows? Maybe my taste changed over the years, I guess. But the movie was Werewolves Within. I've always been a sucker for a good werewolf movie ever since Silver Bullet. Silver Bullet used to scare the pee out of me when I was a kid. And Silver Bullet was not very kind to my dreams. But yeah, I really enjoyed Silver Bullet. I think it's a great story, and it holds up even still today. Not to mention Stephen King's Cycle of the Wolf that's good storytelling all the way around. But aside from that, that was a good one. And this one I watched last night, Werewolves Within, starred Sam Richardson. If you've never seen him, and he's a comedian type actor. I thought he pulled his weight more than enough in this movie. He did an awesome job. Most of the time he's playing second banana to other actors, but in this one he plays one of the main characters, and I thought he did great. Not to mention that he's working opposite of, if I say her name, I'm gonna I'm gonna mess it up. But it's like Maya Valtrub. Maya Valtrub. It's the AT&T girl is who it is. Now, if I'm not mistaken, she actually used to be part of a comedy troupe. Could have been Canadian or something that used to come on years ago. But anyway, she's in the movie as well. I thought she did an outstanding job as well. Most everybody that played in this movie, I've seen their faces, most of their faces, some in other movies, one place or another. Everybody did a really good job. Everybody played their parts excellent. This would be like a dark comedy, taking place. Dark horror comedy. Even the box says it's called. They refer to it as a whodunit with teeth, and I cannot agree more. It definitely lived up to that tagline, and like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I was able to put everything together. I'm like, hey, this is who it is. Da 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 da. I enjoyed watching it. It was a great movie. It was a great performance by everybody involved. If you have not seen it, go check it out. I highly recommend it. If you do not like it, then I'm sorry. I cannot give you your time or your money back, especially if you didn't pay for it. So, but anyway. But yeah, I just wanted to put it out there that because I did not like this movie. The Fear Street trilogy, I didn't like any of them. It had certain aspects of it I could get behind, but on the other hand, it did not. This should have been, a Nightmare on Lame Street or whatever, create your own pun here. Okay. But long story short, I didn't care for it. That's why I offered up Werewolves Within. I wanted to give you guys a movie that I actually did like and one that I actually did enjoy. So that's going to wrap this up. I mean, I apologize, but I have literally nothing else to tell about it because this movie did not interest me at all. Long story short, I'll give you the rundown, recap. Kids, the murders start happening in town, and the kids end up getting in a wreck because somebody got pissed off at somebody else, and now they stepped on sacred witch ground, and now somebody's infected with sacred witch magic, and then the witch is back, and they're after them, and now we got to fight for survival. And the way the witch works is she brings back everybody in the past that she's ever placed a curse on or has used as one of her minions, and she can bring them back and pretty much give them super horrific powers to pretty much withstand any kind of deterrent that you may think you have out when you think you have outsmarted this person or this what is going on around you. Something else new presents itself, and it's just I just didn't care for it. I don't know. I hate to keep saying it that way, but it's the truth. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead. I've been rambling now for about 30 minutes. Yeah, be sure to follow me on YouTube now. Give me a like and a follow. I really do appreciate it. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll put it in the show notes down below. Yeah, there you go. I'll put it in the show notes. Showing you these notes down here below. There you go. But anyway, I really did I've enjoyed doing this so far, and be sure to follow me once again on social media. Be sure to follow me on social media. You can follow me facebook.com/The Southern Spectre Podcast, on Instagram at The Southern Spectre, and TikTok at The Southern Spectre. Not very hard to do, but yeah, if you would go there, give me a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever you feel inclined to do. I really do appreciate it. As well, if you head on over to wherever you listen to podcasts, give me a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever you're able to do. It really does help me out with the show, you guys. But yeah, I'm sorry this movie review here was not more than what it was, because I got to be honest with you, I really wanted to be able to deliver it, and this is part of the reason why I put it off for so long. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all for tuning in to the show. I hope everybody's doing well. Sorry, I'm hitting the microphone. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Hope everybody's taking care. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and end this. And remember, take care of each other. Later, guys.